Welcome to Reagan and Friends, a podcast series hosted by the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute. Each month we will share some behind-the-scenes moments and stories of President Reagan with some of his more famous friends.
Because we are a free people, we can work together voluntarily in a way no system has been carried. It always has been and always will be. America's longest freedom. Free men do not lose their patience, their courage, their faith, their constancy, their country. Give an understanding that America lies to the challenge.
In April of 2022, the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum opened a special exhibition entitled The Secrets of World War II. Running through October 9, 2022, the exhibition delves into unknown or rarely shared stories of the war. Speaking about World War II, what better friend of Ronald Reagan's to discuss in this month's Reagan and Friends podcast than Dwight D. Eisenhower? Born in Texas in 1890, but brought up in Abilene, Kansas, Dwight Eisenhower was the third of 7 sons. He excelled in sports in high school and received an appointment to West Point. In his early Army career, he excelled in staff assignments, serving under multiple generals. After Pearl Harbor, General George Marshall called him to Washington for a war plans assignment. He commanded the Allied forces landing in North Africa in November 1942. On D-Day 1944, he was Supreme Commander of the troops invading France. It was he who decided before dawn in June 1944 to proceed with the Normandy invasion. Although he scribbled a note that morning, intended for release, accepting responsibility for the launch at Normandy and accepting full blame if it should fail, it was obvious in his Order of the Day message to all 175,000 members of the military preparing to invade that he was hoping for a victory. The letter opened with, "You are about to embark upon the great crusade, toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hope and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely." And the letter concluded with, "I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory." Following the war, a young Ronald Reagan joined several other Democrats in sending a telegram to Eisenhower, urging him to run as a Democrat. As Ronald Reagan wrote in his autobiography, An American Life, "At the time, he was very reluctant to run at all, but I always suspected he'd have to run. It always seemed to me that when it comes to the presidency, it's not candidates who make the decision whether to run, it's the public opinion. When Ike decided to run on the Republican ticket, I decided, if I considered him the best man for the job as a Democrat, he still ought to be my choice. So I campaigned and voted for Ike, my first for a Republican." Following President Eisenhower's time in office, he didn't stop worrying about politics or the future of the Republican Party. This led him to Ronald Reagan. From 1965 to 1968, he advised Ronald Reagan on everything from foreign affairs, national security, and even the practical politics of running for office. The two met 4 times, the first meeting which lasted 2.5 hours at Eisenhower's farm in Gettysburg. They even golfed together. When Ronald Reagan decided to run for governor of California, Dwight Eisenhower endorsed him, saying, "If Mr. Reagan won, you can bet he would become a Republican presidential possibility." In fact, following his 8 years as California governor, when Ronald Reagan decided to run for president, he used many of the lessons he learned from President Eisenhower, including using strongly worded language in dealing with adversaries, seeking support of all voters, not just Republicans, and to call for common-sense solutions to problems. Once elected, President Reagan often referred to President Eisenhower in his remarks.
So it's imperative your voice is heard. President Eisenhower once said, "The future will belong not to the faint-hearted, but to those who believe in it and prepare for it."
He even referred to President Eisenhower at an exhibit opening for cowboy art.
Another president from the West, Dwight Eisenhower of Abilene, Kansas, once said, "Whatever America hopes to bring to pass in the world must first come to pass in the heart of America." Well, I think America's heart is on display here.
In the Reagan Library collections, we have many items that once belonged to White House Maitre d. John Woodson Ficklin, items he had received from President Eisenhower over the years. The items include the 1956 and 1961 White House Christmas cards, and even prints of watercolors painted by President Eisenhower. John Ficklin was a World War II United States Army veteran who served in the White House starting in 1940, becoming the White House Maitre d' from 1943 to 1983. In an interview, he mused that while some First Ladies like to cook, President Eisenhower liked to barbecue steaks upstairs on the roof. Following his passing, although his collection contained items from all the presidents he worked for, his family decided that the collection should be preserved in the Reagan Library archives. They were donated by his son, John Rory Ficklin. Speaking about the heroic efforts of General Eisenhower on the 40th anniversary of the D-Day invasion, President Reagan said,
"Greetings to all of you, the officers and men of the USS Eisenhower. Believe me, all of us up here are inspired by the sight of your magnificent ship and the battle group which accompanied you to the coast of Normandy. We're returning from a commemoration of the 40th anniversary of the D-Day landings, the heroic operation that was planned and commanded by General Dwight D. Eisenhower. The memory of Ike, our great Allied leader, still inspires heroic efforts on both sides of the Atlantic."
Thank you for watching.
Don't forget that when you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you'll be notified every time new videos and podcasts are added to our site, including our Reagan and Friends, Words to Live By, and Reagan Forum podcasts. And don't forget to follow @Ronald Reagan on Facebook and Twitter, as well as @Reagan Foundation on Instagram and YouTube.